Oh, there we go. YouTube, sorry about that. Some technical difficulties there, and then my camera does this thing where it like boxes my face in white, so I can't be doing that. But we're live today, dude. It's like in season mode now. I was at Pitt for my first gig of the season last week. First time I've been at Pitt in 8 years. Back at Pitt. First time I put pads on again. Those of you guys may have seen on Instagram. I guess I've just posted on Instagram so far, but it'll be coming on TikTok of they did a little bit of to open the show with ACC Network. I was like running out with pads and a little bit about trying to mix it up with the guys. So it was fun putting pads on again. What else was I just gonna say right there? AP poll came out, so I'll react to that today. I got some thoughts. I am not in the camp of preseason polls suck. I feel like we oversay that. Imagine a life where we didn't have preseason polls. I'm in the minority too here. This is not a popular take. Imagine if we didn't have polls and we're just showing up week 0 and week 1. And yeah, we might focus on the big brand names, but we'd have no frame of reference for where things stand right now. People's issue is not with the poll. People's issue is that then the poll holds significance when we make decisions in December. That's not a poll issue. That's an issue with how we measure strength of schedule. So I think it's a lazy take when people say the AP poll sucks. Because imagine just showing up week 0, week 1, and you have no frame of reference that Washington is not a ranked team this year. And hey, Oklahoma was not good last year, but based on what they did the past 9 months, they should be good. The collective football world believes Penn State and Clemson should be at the top of the country. I have no problem with polls. I think I'm not on board with that argument. I'm also not on board with changing the playoff to 14 teams. I don't really know what that solves, or 16. So I guess I'm a hot take guy today. But we're talking about the AP poll. Let me share my screen here. Boom. For YouTube, TikTok. Sorry, TikTok. I'm working on a platform so I can share my screen while we're talking over there, and Instagram as well. But I got some thoughts. AP poll. Texas was 1. First off, I was surprised. I think we see Texas 1, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, they got Sark and they got Arch. No, everybody's been talking about 2 teams this whole offseason, Clemson and Penn State. I saw Pat McAfee be like, I was kind of surprised to see Clemson up there. I get it. He's managing a lot more than us college football hardos, but everybody's been talking about Clemson all offseason. No surprise that they're at top 4. It makes sense. This is the year they've been building to. They had a lot of guys that started as freshmen and sophomores that are now juniors and seniors. If Dabo's plan's going to work, this is the year where it's got to work. Was surprised that it was not Penn State or Clemson at 1, to be honest. But if you're sitting there, if you're hearing me say that and you're like, Max, what you talking about? We always knew Texas was legit. Well, if that's the case and you're like, yo, Max, what you talking about? Vegas has Texas's regular season over/under win total at 9.5 wins. If you think it's a no-brainer that Texas is like the top team in the country, hammer the over in that. You will hit the over if Texas still loses 2 games. And the reason they have that is because they're going on the road to the Horseshoe week 1. Biggest week 1 matchup maybe ever, or at least in my lifetime on paper, hence the AP rankings. But if you think Clemson, if you're like, oh yeah, of course, Clemson's your number one team, well then hammer the over on the win total this year, because they still get 2 losses. They can go 10-2 and still get the over there. For Penn State, I'm always slow to roll on when the masses, without seeing any football, are already all in on a team like Penn State. I naturally am like, what am I missing on? What am I missing out there? So like I feel that way now. Sometimes I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves with Drew Aller. I feel like we're underestimating the impact that Tyler Warren had in that offense. Anytime you hear someone talking about Penn State, it's always about the receivers, which makes sense. I get it. I love 2 of the receivers they got in the portal. Trevor Pena was a beast at Syracuse last year. I saw him in person 3 times. He was Syracuse's third down weapon in the slot. He's not an outside lane guy. And so I'm intrigued to see how Penn State does that, because Kyron Hudson is an outside lane guy, but he's not necessarily a burner per se. But I love both those guys. I think USC fans were pissed to see Kyron Hudson go. But if I was a Penn State fan, I'd be stoked. But I think we're underestimating the impact of Tyler Warren in that offense. We're underestimating what it's like to be a school like Penn State that every single offseason you're hearing the chatter of they can't beat a top 5 team, and then they're having to be the top dog all offseason. They're used to having Michigan or Ohio State be the top dog. It's a different mentality. How do they handle that and the pressure with that? I watched Drew Allar's interview with Rick Neuheisel the other day, and he talked about how he had to change his mentality and work with a professional to not be so hard on himself. Good on him, but I think it's a legit factor. If you're putting that pressure on yourself and the expectations that come with that, I'm slow to roll on Penn State there. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Alabama, to me, in my brain, I put all in one bucket because if they hit on their quarterback, shit, look out. Look out if they hit on their quarterback. And for TikTok, you can't see the screen I'm sharing, but it's Ohio State 3, Notre Dame 6, Oregon 7, Alabama 8. One of those teams hits on their quarterback, Ty Simpson for Alabama, named starter today or yesterday. Look out. Look out. And those of you guys that have followed my content closely, I don't know why Jalen Milroe went to the NFL. He should have gone back to college. He would have got paid $3 million a year minimum. He would have developed as a passer rather than sitting and watching Sam Darnold, and he easily could have been, if he kept progressing, a first-round talent. And if Jalen Milroe had gone back to Alabama, Alabama would be the number 1 team in the country. So if they can hit on Ty Simpson, and he's legit, look out, because Bama's defense is nice and their O-line's nice. I talked about Clemson at 4. You guys know where I stand there. My one Clemson take, though, because I've noticed this watching everyone else, is it's so easy to poo-poo the ACC and be like, Clemson's guaranteed CFP spot. The ACC is nowhere near as good as the Big Ten and the SEC. We all know that. But in the grand scheme of an ACC year, this is a strong ACC year relative to other ACC years in recent memory. I keep saying ACC like an absolute robot. But the ACC, Pitt, sneaky pick. Pitt was 7-1 and their quarterback got hurt and they started pissing down their leg. That quarterback's back in the saddle year 2 with an offensive coordinator. They got an All-American at linebacker, an All-American first team at linebacker, first team All-American at running back. Got some receivers they like. Pitt sneaky. You're going to say that's a homer take. It is a homer take, but it's a good take. Florida State, I don't think it's going to be as crappy as they were last year. Louisville with Brom and Miller Moss is intriguing. Georgia Tech with another year in that system, they're intriguing. Virginia Tech, if they don't win 8 games, they're going to have a whole new staff. The pressure's under them. Kyron Drones. Syracuse is interesting with the Notre Dame transfer coming in. CJ Bailey in year 2 at NC State, a team that underperformed a year ago. They're interesting. I went through 6 teams right there. I didn't even mention Bill Belichick. This is a relatively speaking solid ACC year, and SMU, who obviously was in the CFP a year ago. Should Clemson win the ACC? Yes. I didn't even mention Miami. Miami too. Should Clemson win the ACC? Yes. Is it stronger than in recent memories? I think so. I think there's a lot of teams in the ACC that feel good about their quarterback spot. So don't sleep on the Atlantic Coast Conference. This year, I'll be working for ACC Network, calling ACC games every single Saturday. So when you turn on your TV and you're like, yo, I've seen that dude on YouTube Live, seen that dude on the TikTok. We'll be calling games over there. That gets into, again, I talked about it, the bunch from 6 to 8, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama. To me, they're all in like the same bucket in my head. LSU 9. I love Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier is my number 1 NFL quarterback right now for next year's draft class. You get LSU a run game, look out, because that offense was good last year and they had a shit run game. They get a good run game, which should happen for LSU this year. Look out. Obviously, pressure on Brian Kelly. That John Gruden news too. Ooh, if things don't go according to plan in September for Florida, Florida State, LSU, let the chatter start. Let the chatter start. Number 10, Miami. I would stay away from a gambling standpoint. I would stay away from Miami with a 10-foot pole. They make me so nervous. I think we underestimate how big of a factor Cam Ward was for them last year. We underestimate that Carson Beck who regressed last year, just had a surgically repaired throwing elbow. That scares the shit out of me. So Miami, very concerned with the Hurricanes there, or at least in terms of a win-loss total. Over there on YouTube, Lord Jimbo, what up? Johan, what up? Deb, new username. Good to see you. Iowa State above Iowa. People like Matt Campbell and that Rocco Beck, baby. But I'm with you. Iowa. They're Gronkowski, their quarterback. College football fans know about him, but your average fan, the Hawkeyes offense could be a little bit different. But 10, going to 11. This is the stretch, 11, 12, 13. Arizona State, Illinois, South Carolina. Those are the programs that are not blue blood programs. Everyone's had a reason to be excited about them all off season. I feel a little bit differently about all three of them, though. But they're obviously like high upside teams, right? Arizona State obviously made noise last year. I'm out on the Sun Devils, or I'm very, very hesitant with the Sun Devils at this point. It's different when you're being the hunted rather than the hunter. Cam Scatteraboo was a huge presence, not only on that offense, but the identity of the team from that standpoint. Sam Levitt is walking that tightrope between being confident and arrogant. If it goes over to arrogance and you start losing 2 games or the offense is sputtering a little bit, that's when it can backfire and you start hitting that little subtle panic button. I love Kenny Dillingham as a coach. I just think the expectations are different this year when you're being the hunted. I think the Big 12 and a lot of the like conference of autonomy, if you don't catch the momentum that ASU had last year, ASU just makes me nervous. I'm going on Utah radio later today, and the Utes are the opposite. I don't think the Utes are going to have 2 bad years in a row, but ASU, man, they very hesitant with them. Illinois, similar deal. They're not getting the hype that Arizona State's getting, but Illinois is 12 in the country. I could totally see Nebraska filling that spot, USC filling that spot, Iowa filling that spot. So Illinois, Luke Altmaier, again, though, what's it like when you're not sneaking up on anybody? Like right now, as a USC guy, I'm circling that game in early October in Champaign, Illinois. That'll be the biggest game that Illinois has had at their stadium in recent memory. That stadium's going to be absolutely rocking. But as a USC fan, I'm never thinking about Illinois. Well, I am this year because of the hype. How do they handle that this whole offseason, especially if things don't get off to a good start early on? South Carolina, fascinating to me. Fascinating to me because there's only so many wins to go around in the SEC. So if you're picking South Carolina, you're inevitably then not picking Florida. Or if you're picking South Carolina, you're not picking Missouri, or you're picking Alabama to take a step back. South Carolina is fascinating to me. And those of you guys on YouTube, I did a Lenora Sellers breakdown. Go check it out. Type in, is he the next Cam Newton, Max Brown? Video will come up. It's good stuff. I watched 5 games from last season. His progression, he's a different quarterback in September of last year than he is in November last year. It bleeds through the film. You can see the confidence, which makes me encouraged that he has a whole nother gear that he can get to. I think Lenora Sellers could be special. The coaches have to open up the playbook. He's got to develop as a passer and, throwing guys open a little bit. Side note, he runs more like Johnny Manziel than he does Cam Newton. He does not run like Cam Newton. He's not lowering his shoulder and running people over. People always say, oh, he's like Cam Newton, all that. His pocket mobility is more Johnny Manziel than Cam Newton, in my opinion. But South Carolina is intriguing to me. Michigan, all comes down to Bryce Underwood. Curious there. Florida, DJ Lagway is legit, but all these offseason storylines about him getting injured. It's not just about being injury prone. It's about the fact that when you're 19 years old, if you're getting injured and you're having knick-knack, injuries in the offseason, oftentimes that means you're not taking care of business work ethic-wise or nutrition-wise. I'm not trying to rag on a, 19-year-old because I don't know the guy. I just know being across 2 different teams, Pitt and USC, the guys that had those little nagging injuries, doesn't really happen to the guys that are busting their ass all the time. Just to be, that's a broad strokes take, but we'll see there. What else do I got? Everyone else is interesting. or like has intriguing storylines. Oklahoma, obviously. Kansas State, interested to see what Avery Johnson. We expected him to make a big step last year. I think he didn't get there, but he could get there this year. And then two other teams, 21 Ole Miss is intriguing to me, and then Texas Tech at 23. Dude, Ole Miss at 21. I've talked to Kiffin. We told their game last year. They love Austin Simmons. To me, what I think goes underappreciated with a lot of this quarterback chatter, whether it's Ole Miss, Alabama, Oregon, Notre Dame, even a lot of these quarterbacks that are Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, the QB portal market was weak this offseason. It was. That's why we're calling Fernando Mendoza like an NFL first-round type of guy. Could he get there? Yes. Is he there right now? No shot. But he was like a splashy get for Indiana. My point, though, is a school like Ole Miss, I think they looked around the portal. Yes, they like Austin Simmons, but they looked around the portal and said, there's no one else for us to go get. Like there wasn't that many good quarterbacks. You could almost maybe say the same thing about Texas Tech, too. Texas Tech has got that oil tycoon money. They could have got a big-time quarterback rather than all the other pieces they got. They elected to stay with Baron Morton. I got no problem with that. But I think a lot of these quarterback decisions of teams electing to go with homegrown talent was more of who else are we going to go get in the portal. There's not that many great quarterbacks that are better than what we have on our own roster. And so for all these guys, again, Oregon, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, quarterbacks that we haven't really seen who can pop. John Mateer, fired up for him. That's my takes on the AP poll. What questions we got, though? Auburn will be top 15 by week 3. Akron's a sleeper pick this year. Josh Hoover is winning the Heisman. I've been seeing people like Josh Hoover. I had him in person for the Iron Skillet last year. My thing with TCU, though, is if it didn't happen last year offensively, when they had 2 NFL receivers, 3, but 2 NFL receivers, why is it going to happen this year? And I do think they stubbed their toe early on in the season, and that was tough. I like his game. I think he operates efficiently, but I'm slow to roll on TCU this year. Do I think Devin Dampier or Jaden Maeva are sneaky Heisman picks? I do. I think there's value in both. I don't know what their odds are right now. I don't know if Dampier is going to be able to throw the ball well enough to actually win the Heisman. And it always makes me nervous if you're a quarterback who can run for 2,000 yards a year? He ran for that much last year, right? Or is it 2,000 in a career? You're always run the risk of being injury prone. But I do think Dampier at Utah sleeper pick, man. Don't sleep on the Utes because, I remember when we played Utah when I was in college, they had Travis Wilson who was a sneaky dual threat guy, and they would play ball control offense, trust the defense, make games grimy, force offenses to drive the length of the field, and that was a winning recipe. And that's what Dampier can do with his legs. Appreciate the gifting badges over there. What do we got? Sips the Lodge. Does ASU take a step back or a step forward this year? I think they take a step back. I do. I thought last year was the perfect run. You got momentum on your side. I loved Cam Scatterbo. Expectations are night and day different. The Big 12, that top tier of teams, it's a toss-up. ASU, Kansas State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, any of those teams could get it. Throw Utah in there. Who knows what happens with BYU? Baylor. Who else we got? Memphis, TCU again. Colorado. I just think, if I'm a betting man, does ASU take a step forward? A step forward means they're winning a CFP game. If I'm a betting man, they're taking a step back. Lenora Sellers at South Carolina. RC, I just talked about him. You just missed it. Check out the YouTube video, though. Type in, is he the next Superman, Max Brown? I did a whole breakdown on Lenora Sellers' game in 2024. OGD Lifer. Sorry, you guys got me some crazy usernames. Utes, no way. You don't believe in the Utes? That's a bad business decision. It's a bad business decision. My speed round college football projections, Toby says UNLV 12, Notre Dame 5, Kansas State 4, Michigan 9, Tennessee 8. Toby, you're all over the map, dude. Why Tennessee at 8? You have Tennessee at 8. That means you have them above Oklahoma. You have them above A&M. You have them above South Carolina. That's bold. I guess you got South Carolina at 10. I'm not there with you on Tennessee. That's putting a lot of faith into a unknown quarterback there. Davey Leak says LSU's winning it all. I'm high on LSU this year. I'm a believer in Garrett Nussmeier. I think their run game last year was an outlier. You don't usually see that from LSU. What advice would you say to a 5-star from a player perspective and not the team or scout perspective? I mean, I'll keep it high level. I would say have fun. I look back on my career and I put so much pressure on myself to be perfect. And in my brain, the worst thing that could ever happen is my football career not work out. Like, how as a 5-star quarterback could I have a shitty college career and not play in the NFL? Like, if that happens, I'm just going to be miserable the rest of my life. And I'm not. I'm happier at 30 than I probably was at 22 playing football. It's an absolute blessing. I got a lot to be thankful for. But I would tell a 5-star quarterback, especially nowadays, because these guys are already cashing in. So you're already cashing in. As long as you just go to school and get your degree and you're not just like a douchebag and you're a good person and you think about the totality of your life. And oh, by the way, you're picking up a few $1 million along your college journey. It's not a bad gig. Not a bad gig. If you just handle your business, your floor is so much higher than when I was playing as a 5-star quarterback. So much higher. That I would just say keep it fun. When I look back on my college career, the guys that are still playing now when I'm 30 years old are the guys that had the most fun. They weren't necessarily the guys that worked football and were like the absolute grinders. And I think when you have fun, you play better football. Sounds like kind of woo-woo, but that's facts. What do we got here? Playoff locks. New Mexico, sneaky good. Week 0 in 2 weeks. Jason, you got it. Appreciate you. Great question. Jason's got the question of the day. I want to start doing something. So in season, for those of you guys in season, I'm going live every Sunday at the most underrated TV window available. Why I'm the only person that's doing this, I don't know. Hopefully, if someone steals my secret, let me know. But I'm going live 4:30 Pacific on Sunday. That's the awkward hour after the second window of Sunday games ended and before Sunday Night Football starts, where the only thing on TV is NBC with Chris Sims and Maria Taylor. I'm sure they're great, but we'll be live every Sunday. It'll be a lot of college football stuff, but if I'm looking at NFL and have stuff to react to, we'll chop it up there too. But every single Sunday this fall, starting week 1, not week 0, week 1, I'm doing a final hurrah scramble golf tournament that Sunday. So we'll start week 1, 4:30 Pacific, live on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Yo, Max, how do we think J.J. McCarthy will pan out in the NFL? Damn, I'm being negative Nancy today. That's not my vibe, but I think he's going to struggle year 1. I think we are underestimating the talent of Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold in this equation of the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell. I think Kevin O'Connell's a great coach. We're underestimating the Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins impact, and we're overestimating how significant of a jump it is from the offense that J.J. McCarthy ran at Michigan to what he's about to run in the NFL. He's never had to win the game for his team. That is unheard of for a first-round quarterback. I've had this take since the day he was drafted. I think he struggles year 1. That doesn't mean that he is a bad quarterback all time, but this adjustment period is going to be tough because you look back and Kirk Cousins pre-Achilles, he was a damn good quarterback. It wasn't flashy, not the biggest guy, not the strongest arm, so we underranked that. Sam Darnold, people that have followed my content, I've been on the Sam Darnold train, pause, but check the receipts. I said 3 years ago that Sam was going to have a pop like this because he's a good quarterback. He just got put in shitty situations with the Jets and the Panthers. There's a reason the Vikings went out and hand-plucked Darnold because they knew he had talent. I think we underestimate the impact that he had for the Vikings' success last year. All we do is focus on Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson and that one playoff game where he struggled. There's a totality of a season where they had the most wins regular season-wise since, 1995? Wins in the NFL don't just grow on trees. I think year one could be tough for JJ. Is he going to be considered a rookie? Like, can he win the Rookie of the Year? Is that a thing? I gotta look back at that. When you guys give me good questions, I write timestamps down so my content guys can clip them. Hank Greenberg, I went to school with Sam. So did I. Used to be in a quarterback room every day with Sam. Sammy D, still the man. Jules, what's going on? Good to see you. Give me your week one upset. Give me your week one upset. I mean, I think Ohio State's favored, so I'd go Texas week one. Is that the case? What week one matchups we got? As I look that up, Cody Kessler, underrated USC quarterback. Facts, dude. He was that dude was efficient. I've never played with a quarterback that was more consistent in practice than Cody Kessler, and I've never played with a quarterback that threw a more consistent spiral than Cody Kessler. Kind of a niche thing, but facts. Jules, I agree with you. Jules says a guy doesn't become an NFL first round QB without talent. Anyone who counted Darnold out is 100% wild. A lot of people counted Darnold out. People absolutely roasted me when I said the comment. I made a TikTok 2 years ago being like, Darnold's going to have a Geno Smith type of career. Just get him in the right scenario. He's got the talent. People just latched on to that clip of like him seeing ghosts. People roasted me in the comments. Those are the best takes when you got the receipts and you can look back like, yeah, we making it happen. And on that note too, Thursday's live at noon Pacific. I believe it's noon Pacific. Yeah. Thursday's live, noon Pacific. I'm going to give you guys my hottest takes for this football season. Takes that I believe, but they're spicy. And the reason I'm doing that is so in December, I can go and look back and hold myself accountable. Because, we all have these takes that are like in our gut where we're like, dude, no one's really saying that online, but like I believe it and I think it'll happen and I think there's truth there. I have it every single year. And then the season happens and you're like, dude, I knew it. JJ McCarthy's one for me. I won't give you them all right now. Michael Penix. Watch Michael Penix ball out. I've been waiting for this. What's another one I got for you? I mean, I've already said Arizona State. I'm nervous there. I'll stop sharing my screen. Sorry. My bad, YouTube. Arizona State's another one. I got a Drew Aller one in there, so we'll dive into that. Nate Lamar says I waved at him at a USC game back in the day. I'm glad, man. I'm glad. Give it a little fight on. I felt bad, dude. I was walking across the street with my coffee yesterday, and this guy rolled down his window, and I was like in a conversation with my wife. Like, I was like very much like engaged in the conversation, and so he rolled out his window. I was like, fight on. And like I didn't hear him right away, and so I like jumped and probably gave him like a glare, and then I like pieced together that he was like giving me the fight on symbol, and I was like, oh, fight on, dude. But I was like walking away from him, and I was like, shit. So if for some reason you're watching this, I'm sorry, dude. I kind of shrugged you off, but you caught me off guard mid crosswalk there. Hank asked USC record this year. So I've been in the media side of the business for 7 years now. This is the first year where nobody is talking about USC. Usually USC is everyone's sleeper team in the offseason because they recruited well, or they got Lincoln Riley, or they got Caleb Williams, or they got some exciting pieces at skill player or whatnot. Nobody's talking about USC. I think that's the best thing possible for Trojan fans, which then has me be like, maybe there's a lot of upside there. Again, that Jaden Maeva take, or that quarterback take that I made earlier about how a lot of teams, big-time programs, are breaking in first-year starting quarterbacks that are homegrown talent. The reality is that's not necessarily because they all think they have a first-round quarterback. It's because they looked at the transfer portal market and was like, yeah, the portal kind of sucks. It's not that deep. Not that many great quarterbacks in there. So you kind of have to rock with the guy that you got. Good on Lincoln Riley for getting Jaden Maeva a year ago. year after he was Mountain West Freshman Player of the Year. That decision could pay huge dividends for USC. But as a result of that, I'm like sneaky high on USC because no one's talking about them. You love the USC broadcast team. I was excited. Sua Craven's got a gig with ESPN, I believe it was. Who could be this year's Florida State? Ooh. Who could be this year's Florida State where we just totally whiff? We just totally whiff. This year's Florida State. That is a great question. I'll go Miami. Carson Beck's right arm gives me anxiety, and I haven't really followed up on what they are at fall camp, but I'll go Miami, man. Like, Cam Ward was Mr. Everything for them last year. If they end up shitting the bed on offense, again, I'm not putting my money there with that take, but that's a team that everyone has in the top 10 that, dude, I got some concerns. Who is the best Los Angeles quarterback of all time, and why is it Brent Huntley? I got a cool Brent Huntley story for you. My first offer in high school ever was the weekend after my freshman year of high school. Sark and Garrett Nussmeier's dad, Doug Nussmeier, offered me my first scholarship. And then they told me, though, they're like, you can't tell anyone. And me being like the don't want to piss anyone off, people pleaser that I am, like very by the book freshman in high school, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my best friend because I was like, oh, dude, I can't tell anyone. What if I get in trouble? What if they pull my scholarship kind of thing? They told me not to tell anyone. The reason they told me not to tell anyone, in hindsight, I think it might have been in the event that I actually sucked when I finally started a high school game, that then they could back out of that offer and not get any flack for it. Now that I'm 15 years older, that was probably the actual reason. But the reason they gave me is like, hey, we're hot on this guy from Arizona named Brent Huntley, and we really want to get him, and we don't want to spook him coming to Washington because we just offered a guy 2 years younger than him who's like the hometown guy. Funny enough now, because Brent Huntley had a way better career than I did, so that kind of sounds silly now. But that's always my Brent Huntley story. What do you think about preseason rankings? Leighton, great question. I talked about this when I opened the live. I love preseason rankings. I don't get why people hate them so much. Actually, that's disingenuous. I get why people hate them so much. I think that the reasoning is flawed. People hate preseason rankings because of the impact that they have in December, because it positions our entire conversation, and then we aren't capable enough to say, hey, you know what? We had Penn State as everyone's offseason favorite. They're actually not that good. They were better in 2024, maybe. We don't give people the credit that, hey, we can separate those two things. That's not an issue with the polls. That's an issue with measuring strength of schedule. Strength of schedule, how I understand it, when they rank that, it's if you play the number 1 team in the country and the number 120th team in the country, your then strength of schedule is 60. But we all know as college football fans, the reality of playing the number 1 team in the country and 120 probably means you had like the 40th hardest schedule, all else being equal. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have the 60th hardest schedule. You had the 40th hardest schedule. If you're playing Texas week 1 and then some trash team week 2, we have to change how we measure strength of schedule. That has to be a fluid process. We can't keep doing this whole end of season. Oh, they had 4 wins versus AP top 25 teams, and 2 of those wins are preseason for teams that ended up not being ranked. The issue's not with preseason rankings. I want preseason rankings. I want that at this point in time, in August 2025, we think Texas, Ohio State is a 1-2 matchup, is a big-time matchup because of the data points that we as the collective football world, I got no problem with that. The flip side's also true. When I turn on the Washington Huskies, I want to know that right now, people don't think they're a top 25 team. That's a measuring stick. That's a point in time. It's not Washington of 2023. Because if it was Washington of 2023 and you turn on the TV and it's the number 8 Huskies, you're like, oh shit, this is the year for the Dogs. I want that. If you didn't have rankings, it would just be the big brands and you would get numb and you would lose the nuance there. Similar with like a team like Oklahoma this year. Oklahoma was not that good last year. They're ranked inside the top 15 or top 20. That's noteworthy for me. When I turn on the game, I want it to be like, okay, Sooners have some buzz this offseason. So it's a problem with strength of schedule. I think it's a lazy argument to say it's AP rankings. I'm in the minority there. Everyone supposedly hates rankings. I'm not in that camp. When I give a take I'm writing the timestamp down so I can pull it. So I appreciate the question. Buffalo is winning the MAC. I believe, did Miami of Ohio get some like big get? Leighton is my guy today. Leighton or girl. I don't know. Yeah, Leighton. What do I think about Florida's schedule? Florida gives me a lot of anxiety because of that schedule. Their schedule is brutal, and it's brutal not only out of conference, but it's brutal in conference, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, someone asked me a couple weeks ago if there's a team that I would hammer the under on from a wins total. Florida's right there because look at this. They start with LIU, and I don't even know what LIU is, and then South Florida. But then they go LSU. LSU fans think they should win that game. They go Miami. Miami fans think they should win that game. They go Texas. Texas fans think they should win that game. They go A&M. A&M fans, if they're honest with themselves, are like, that might be a tough one, but that's a tough game, and that is on the road. Shit, good luck with that, Kyle Field. Then you go Mississippi State. All right, you go Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State. There are very few easy wins in there. I think Lagway is a stud. I don't really know what to make of these injuries and the little murmurs you make, but Florida's schedule makes me very concerned for them. Who do you believe will win the quarterback battle at Ohio State? I'm surprised it's still close. Of all the quarterback battles, this is the one that I could see going into the season because their skill sets are so different. The short answer is, I don't know. I'm not at fall camp. I don't really know these two guys' game. What I do think is interesting is the contrasting skill sets. Saying not going to wow you with his size or like arm strength necessarily, but by all accounts, like is just dialed. I guess he does have good arm strength. I shouldn't say that. He was, a 5-star guy. But, much more of a pocket guy versus Lincoln Kienholz, much more physical. His legs become a factor there. Because of that, I could see them rocking with a 2-quarterback system the first month and then letting it play out. Not necessarily ideal. If I had to bet, I bet it's Julian Sayin just because of the recruiting pedigree and everything you read and hear is like he's operating the offense pretty smoothly. But we'll see. I don't have a strong take there. Red Raider, guns up. Man, this is the Texas Tech year. This is the Texas Tech year. And one thing that, I made this take a couple weeks ago. The last 2 college football seasons, the team that popped up the most and was like, oh, wow, where'd they come from? You could have looked at the paper trail and seen them coming. 2 years ago, it was the Washington Huskies. Last year, it was Indiana. You can see the paper trail. You can see what they have, again, on paper, projected to the NFL, or guys that have produced in the portal. That team this year, on paper, where it's like, yo, they could really do something, Texas Tech, 100%. To me, though, it comes down to the fact that they made a decision in the portal to not invest to go get a quarterback. They stuck with their guy, which is great. And that might be a smart NIL decision and use those resources elsewhere. But quarterback's the most important position. And if Morton is just like average, then they're going to be thinking, man, maybe we shouldn't have got that extra edge rusher or that extra offensive lineman or whatever. And we should have went and got, one of these other transfer quarterbacks, Fernando Mendoza at Indiana kind of thing. That to me is a sneaky big talking point for Texas Tech. Thoughts on Talon Green? Gibby. I honestly saw him more at Boise State than I did at Arkansas. But I just watched the Netflix doc of his head coach being like, hey, when you have Talon Green, you have a chance. I didn't think he was like that. I didn't know he was like that. So I got to watch him more. I think he's totally capable, though. He's not going to be the reason Arkansas is bad. That's the best way that I would put it. Thoughts on the John Mateer situation? Are you talking about the gambling situation? Bobby Witt Jr. MVP? The gambling situation where I've always thought about this. I think about this nowadays, like the way. So for those of you guys that didn't see, John Mateer's Venmo history from 3 years ago has like sports gambling. And he said it's a bit between his friends, which I totally get. I have things like that. And now you guys are probably going to go look at my Venmo history. But like little things of like, I don't know, like you guys know, like when you're titling your Venmo, there might be some like, inside joke that if you have no contest looks like, dude, what? He's paying him for what? You little weirdo. So I believe John Mateer. I do. I'd imagine it's like a video game thing where they're playing each other in video games. And then he had to like pay him $20 for dinner kind of thing. But my biggest takeaway is nothing says that you were not a big time recruit than the fact that you had the lack of awareness to title a Venmo from 3 years ago sports gambling. That is a dumb move and speaks to the fact that you didn't think any eyeballs were ever going to be on you. Or maybe you hoped, but he didn't think that he was going to be the number one transfer portal quarterback in the country. He was probably just pumped to be a Washington State Coug, and here we are. I cannot relate to that. I remember literally being in like 7th grade, feeling like I was living under a microscope when I made a MySpace account. So all these, I remember like literally getting lectured as a freshman in high school about the dangers of a Twitter account because I knew, hey, 5-star guy, everyone's got eyes on you, that kind of thing. The fact that just 3 years ago, John Mateer was given just a dumb Venmo title speaks to the significant climb that he's had the past 3 years. Big fan. Keep up the good work. M. Herm1, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. YouTube, sorry. I've been ignoring YouTube for a hot sec. Johan, what you got? Long Island University, LIU. I don't even know that place existed. Also, YouTube, you notice we got a new helmet. I won this at a golf trip. I can never point. I suck at that. New helmet. The white version of my high school team's helmet. Won at a golf tournament last week, 2 weeks ago. Anyone got questions on YouTube, let me know. Johan, I see you. I agree with the Napier take. Also, do you have a dark horse for the playoffs? Ooh, Leighton. Leighton's the MVP of the chat today. Leighton, I have aspirations one day to do like a giveaway for the best live user. I haven't come together with a game plan, so let me know if you have any ideas. My dark horse for the playoff, Utah. I just think, dude, I believe in Kyle Whittingham. I believe in that defense. If you get some momentum in the Big 12, there's a way where they can murky up games and win ball games. He's one. Pitt is another one. If Pitt's got a quarterback. Pitt's got an All-American, first-team All-American running back. They got a first-team All-American middle linebacker. It's the best defensive line they've had going into the season since they won an ACC title. They had the absolute injury bug at offensive line last year. That's a homer take, but that's a good take. Don't sleep on Pitt. Who else I got for you? I mean, if the Big Ten is going to get 4 teams, USC, Nebraska, Iowa, those teams are really interesting to me as well. How do you think Michigan will be? I think Michigan will be good. How many games did they win last year? But I do not think they'll be in the playoff. I think it's too hard to win at a high level with a true freshman quarterback. I just think it is. Even though you are Bryce Underwood, I think it's too hard in that stacked of a conference. I mean, Michigan's 14. I think that's about right. I can see them being literally the first team out of the playoff. Literally. I think that's right where I would have them. Go Blue 2 with an Alex Orgy thumbnail. Is that what I see? Profile pic? Who is that? Who is 0? I don't know. Maybe I'm bad there. You think they go 9-3? It's only a matter of time before a 9-win team gets in. I've been on that take for a while, so 9-3 might get them in. Giddy says Michigan 6-7 this year, though. Any concern about Ness's knee? Yanchais. What's the latest with Ness's knee? I didn't see that. What's going on there? I don't like that at all. Score FSU Alabama. James Voss asks. That's an interesting line. Very interesting line. I saw it's 13.5 points Alabama's favored by. It's interesting to me because Alabama's breaking in a new quarterback. So if it takes them 2 quarters to warm up, that could be a line where you go Florida State. Alabama to win, but Florida State to cover. Thomas Castellanos is a really interesting case study for me because at Boston College, he's the new Florida State quarterback. At Boston College, I could not think – my bad. I could not think of a worse offense for Thomas Castellanos to be in than Boston College's pro-style offense. I could not think of a better offense for Thomas Castellanos to be in than Gus Malzahn and the what's his old Alabama or Auburn quarterback's name? Gosh dang it, I'm blanking on it. The guy that led him to a national title. But anyways, I couldn't think of a better offense for Thomas Castellanos to be in. Castellanos could be a really good college quarterback if channeled and used properly. Because he has the Kyler Murray mobility, but he can't win. He can't be a pure progression pocket passer. That's not in his DNA. His legs have to be involved. It's got to be heavy RPO. And when you ask him to pass, you got to split the field in half. Only have his eyes go to one side of the field. But he's played some ball. That's a sneaky line. I might go Florida State to cover that one. Florida State, that makes me nervous. I'll do some picks beforehand. But Yanchais, it's not Franklin. No, it's what's that? Number 14 guy who like almost played running back or quarterback. 14 Auburn QB. What's his name? Dude, what the heck is his name? No, it's not Jason Campbell. Help me out. Nick Campbell. Oh, no. Nick, what's his name? This is bad. I'm botching this. Nick Marshall. Sorry about that. Who else we got here? How cooked do you think are the Huskies? Not cooked at all. If you need a surprise team in the Big Ten, Washington's right at the top of the list. Washington, USC, Nebraska. I think Michigan State, year 2 under Jonathan Smith. I don't think they contend for a CFP spot, but I think they're a tough out. But the Huskies, I've said this take every single week on the lives. A great spot to be in if you're a college football fan is when you love your quarterback, but the rest of the country doesn't know who he is. And that's Damon Williams, and that's the Washington Huskies. Love Jed Fish. I think he's one of the best play callers in college football, which is not just a catch-all thing. People always say that, like, oh, he's one of the best play callers in college football. All right, Max, why? Give me a reason. All right, I got you. I can't think of a better play caller in college football that blends in one possession. He'll bring in empty spread concepts. And the very next play, bring in under center, fullback, running back, off tackle, pro style run schemes. And the very next play, bring in a jet sweep wrinkle. And then the very next play, he'll run like a throwback screen. Those all stem from 4 different offenses. Jed Fish's ability to blend all those together in one possession. There's a lot of offensive coordinators that can do it. Hey, one possession, we're going to do this. Next possession, we're going to do this. Third progression, we're going to do this. Jed Fish does it play in and play out. He's a great interview. Jed Fish, one of the best play callers in college football. How do you think Matt Patricia will adapt to college? I totally freaking forgot about that, dude. He's with Bill, right? Dude, I think it's going to be I think Bill's going to struggle. I think UNC is going to struggle year 1. I guess it's tough because their schedule is just ass. So they could get wins, and then optics-wise, it looks good. But I think UNC is going to have a long ways to go. Baylor should have been top 25. People like Baylor. Oh, you're right. I'm blanking. That's so bad by me. I'm so sorry on the Ohio State thing. You're right. I was thinking with Bill at UNC. No, my take with Ohio State, that's right. Both coordinators. That's bad ball by me. What's more intriguing is the offensive coordinator, the receiver coach guy. I'm blanking on his name. And it's intriguing to me because he low-key got passed up on to be the OC by Chip Kelly early on. He's been on the staff for a while. He's a Seattle guy too. Heartline, that's right. So like I get people grow and evolve, and they're they sometimes need coaching experience under their belt to become a coordinator. But like, why did this not happen 3-4 years ago? Is he being the coordinator because they want his recruiting prowess, but then Ryan Day is actually going to call plays? But then it's weird because now Ryan Day can't manage the game in a way that he did last year that they won a national title. That's just a sneaky big deal. I have more concerns offensive coordinator-wise than I do defensive coordinator-wise for Patricia. That's so bad, though. My bad, guys. I totally forgot. That was a mental lapse there. Why do you think Alabama had the drop off like they did? Jaden, I don't want to be a smart ass, but they lost one of the best coaches of all time. I think there was always going to be a drop off when they lost Nick Saban. If anything, I actually think it could have been a lot worse. They could have lost a lot more to the portal when Saban left. I actually think DeBoer did a good job righting the ship there. But that to me was to be expected. Now, year 2, what do you do? And I made this take earlier on, and this will be my last question, then I got to go. If Jalen Milroe came back to college like he should have done, and I think time will show that as a bad decision and a mistake, everybody would have Alabama as the number 1 team in the country and the team to beat. And the narrative wouldn't necessarily be, hey, Kalen DeBoer's got something to prove in year 2. It'd be, can Kalen DeBoer manage the expectations and the hype in year 2? Because Bama's O-line is nasty. That left tackle is a beast. Their defense is sick. Their true sophomore receiver out wide is nasty. Bama, man, is intriguing to me. That's the take I'll leave you with, and I'll share my screen one more time if I can find it. YouTube Live. This batch of 6, 7, 8, 9. Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, and LSU. Those 4 teams are going to dictate the intrigue of college football. Texas, we know Texas is going to be in the CFP hunt. Penn State, we know Penn State's going to be in the CFP hunt. Ohio State, we know they're going to be in the CFP hunt. Clemson, same deal. Georgia, I don't think Georgia has the quarterback to win a national title, but Georgia's right there in the thick of it. The volatility of Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, and LSU, that to me is the most intriguing thing, and one of the top storylines that I'm looking at in these first couple of weeks of football. Like, how good are those dudes going to be? All right, that's all I got for you guys. That's an hour. It's 2:30. Sorry I was a little late today. I'll be back Thursday, noon Pacific. This was a lot of like reactionary because football season's here. But if you guys want the more personal questions, we had a good one today. Advice for 5-star quarterbacks, hit me up. But go check out all the socials. Got a YouTube video coming out on Thursday and posted one last week that popped. Oh, that's great. Last little plug. Go check out the YouTube. Leave it right now. One question for all 68 quarterbacks in college football was a beast of a video to make. It's 35 minutes. But if you're a college football fan, I promise it's a good use of time. Listen to it on your next car ride and let me know what you think. It's kind of popping off on YouTube. I'm not just saying that. So go check it out. Anyways, peace.